I have assembled for you a list. These are all things that appeared in my Twitter feed last week. Last week. All right. So from Monday, October 17th, through Sunday, October 23rd. These are just things that appeared in my Twitter feed last week. So I'm not cherry picking here. I'm not picking a particularly week of bad news. I'm not taking from one month and another to craft a narrative. I'm just going to what happened last week and what was in my Twitter feed last week. I'm going to share this list with you. You tell me if my invoking of satanic and demonic imagery is fake news or not. Headline: Moment transgender singer strips naked live on Channel 4 and plays the keyboard with her penis. Let's keep them rolling. Record 2.4 million immigrants illegally crossed border in fiscal year 2022. Almost 4 million total under Biden. That's an invasion. Stacey Abrams: having children is why you're worried about your price of gas. How much food costs? Kill your kid to save yourself money. It's day 222 of being a girl. I'm in Washington, D.C., and I'm going to the White House to speak to the President of the United States. Correlation between booster and excess mortality in Europe. Like direct correlation, you can see on the graph. Trans activist Dylan Mulvaney will be one of 6 speakers at the presidential forum this weekend. Six speakers to sit down with President Biden to address trans rights. Why 6? Couldn't have gone with 5, couldn't have gone with 12. Why do you think they chose 6, do you think, Todd? What an odd number to choose, right? 6. Who doesn't go into a situation and say, 6 would be the perfect number?
Am I being churchy or judgy if I take a gander at that?
Just seems like an odd coinky-dink. Anyway, let's continue on here. Breaking: protesters become triggered as Matt Walsh takes the stage at his event, the Rally to End Child Mutilation, here in Nashville, Tennessee, at the state capitol. Who thought they would live to see the day that in Tennessee they'd need to have a rally to end child mutilation, right? Right. Progressive white woman says the Muslim Americans in Dearborn are like Hitler, because they don't want to have a how-to guide to, quote, handies, quote, blowies, and, quote, sex apps in the school library. Health officials begin offloading stocks at truly unprecedented rates in January 2020, well before the COVID-19 emergency was declared, with HHS officials selling 60% more stock in January 2020 than the previous 12 months. Those guys just have... Get your stock tips from employees at the Department of Health and Human Services. They clearly have a knack for knowing when to buy low and sell high, right? So that's just another random transaction and occurrence. Preprint: endonucleus fingerprint indicates a synthetic origin of SARS-CoV-2. So that's kind of cool. Breaking: Biden Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has announced the Department of Defense will pay for all members of the military to travel to kill babies in abortions. So there's that. Today, the CDC's Vaccine Advisory Committee unanimously voted to include the COVID-19 vaccine in the childhood vaccine schedule. This will effectively protect Pfizer and Moderna from any liability for their poisonous jabs. This is going great so far. His organs were all healthy. His heart, absolutely nothing wrong with him. And yet, talented high school senior collapses and dies on stage while performing at an all-state event, nevertheless. I mean, we've got how many stories this kid's just randomly dropping dead in choir and show choir events all our lives, right? That's why you and I, we played football instead. Choir was so dangerous. Yes. We just saw the kids just dropping dead, like right in the middle of our town.
I wasn't going to play roulette like that.
Yeah, exactly. Take my chances with a concussion, baby. You bet. Biden cites God in predicting defeat of pro-lifers. We're going to see what happens all over America, God willing. So that was nice. 1 in 500 children under 5 years who received the Pfizer mRNA COVID vaccine hospitalized with a vaccine injury. 1 in 200 had symptoms ongoing for weeks or months afterwards, a study in the Journal for the American Medical Association finds. The plan for the next pandemic from the Biden administration, according to Bloomberg: number 1, minimum 130-day lockdown to start the pandemic. Number 2, no reasonable randomized trial or safety testing before deploying a novel vaccine at scale. Number 3, support of gain of function work for EVs. Sounds safe and wholesome. Where are all the dads while their daughters get clubbed like this? Here's a high school girl getting her face rearranged in a volleyball match because the guy, pretending to be a girl, spiked the ball right in her grill. So we saw that a lot when we were growing up too, right? Just dudes just hopping out of the stands and spiking the chicks in the face with the volleyball.
Just the price of doing business.
That's why there was always an ambulance stationed outside of all the girls' volleyball matches. It happened constantly. Happy International Pro Down Day to you, whether you are Z, Zem, she, her, they, dem, he, him, they, them, fey, fair. No, that is not a Kanye West rant. That is actually a tweet from the LGBTQFU Foundation. It's my duty as a cardiologist. Did we decide what this gentleman's name was?
No.
Okay. This guy. It's my duty as a cardiologist to urgently inform you, every doctor, patient, and member of the public, that the mRNA product is a likely contributory factor in all unexpected cardiac arrest, heart attacks, strokes, cardiac arrhythmias, and heart failures since 2021 until proven otherwise. This event in an Oregon bar, open to people of all ages, child drag queens performing over the weekend. A child starring in a controversial drag queen event in Eugene, Oregon is revealed to have been mentored by a local drag queen star who was recently arrested on child sex abuse offenses. And Antifa is organizing security for the event. So there you have Isengard and Mordor combining together as the two towers. Gender-affirming mastectomies for children soared 389%. From 2016 to 2019, that's the doctor of Island, the island of Dr. Moreau, I should say there. So that's cool. Here's video of a group of adult men leading little girls in sexually charged twerking at a festival in Austin, Texas. And because we don't want to go to hell, we won't show it to you. But just that's what that video is. Karen, I should say, Jean-Pierre, says that if there are enough votes in Congress, the first piece of legislation Biden will send to the Hill next year, the number one priority, number one, making Roe, the killing of babies, the law of the land. That's their number one priority. Kill them all. Kill them all. Pfizer's CEO, the horse doctor himself, Albert Bourland, claiming the efficacy of their vaccine in children is 80%, as in preventing infections. It doesn't prevent infections for anybody. And it never did. I attended another all-ages drag bunch, another all-ages drag bunch in Plano, Texas over the weekend. Our colleague, Sarah Gonzalez, shot the footage. That includes my hoo-ha is good, my hoo-ha is sweet, good enough to eat, blank me all night. There you can see a nice little girl sitting right there in the front row, taking all that in. So that's totes cool, right? This doesn't seem demonic or satanic, this litany of things I tweeted were in my Twitter feed last week at all.
Endless gray area, Steve.
Indeed. Contrary to his last media tour, Dr. Fauci was in fact the point person on shutting down schools in America. This is Tom Elliott at Grabien, who just collects clips in the media. And this is an entire thread of him sharing clips of Anthony Fauci advocating for the continued shutdowns of schools in 2020 and 2021. That's what that thread is there. A few more. U.S. researchers at Boston University have developed a new lethal COVID mutant strain in a laboratory, echoing the type of experiments many feared started the pandemic. Why not? The Netherlands starts serving mealworms in schools as a, quote, sustainable meat substitute to meet World Economic Forum's 2030 objectives. That looks just positively scrumptious. Here's the last thing. A Quebec doctor has suggested that infants with, quote, severe deformations and, quote, very grave and severe medical syndromes should be eligible for assisted death. Now, those were all things that showed up in my Twitter feed last week. Last week. Not over the course of this year, a month, several years. Last week. Last week. So my fake news are not for invoking imagery and references to demonic agendas and satanic constructs. Gentlemen, your thoughts